Welcome back. This next video is short, and I'm titling it "And, Not Or." I was always fascinated by martial arts when I was a youngster, and particularly by the combined arts mastered by Bruce Lee, and how he took a combination of disciplines and combined them to create a form all his own that was really unmatchable by any other practitioners at the time. In the world of violin playing, we have many schools, so to speak, the Russian school, Franco-Belgian school, the German school, and we have ways that individual teachers teach, from Boris Kushner to, in her time, Dorothy DeLay, Ivan Galamian, and all of the other teachers living today. And I really believe that going back all the way to Ilona Fair and Galamian and Flesch and Yampolsky and all of these incredibly dedicated teachers that each trained huge numbers of fantastic fiddlers, we have to acknowledge that there must have been something to all of them, as much as some of them despised one another. It is reputed that Galamian students secretly took lessons with Dunas, and Dunas students secretly took lessons with Galamian. My point to all of this, and what I'd like to share to you, is the notion of and, not or. In my teaching, I incorporate various bits of information gotten from students of Ilona Fair, from students of Yampolsky, from students of, I could go on and on and on, so many. Rodney Friend, the names escape me. There's just too many. They'll come to me. But my point is this. If someone has an idea, and this refers back to my previous video, that helps you to be more comfortable or lends a new layer of virtue to a phrase you're doing, they have the potential to add to your virtuosity. So we could take a video on fifths by tuning the violin in fifths, which is great for introducing the hand to the finger at the right angle that Rodney Friend teaches so incredibly well. And then we could combine that with a teaching video by Augustin Hadelich on maintaining relaxed frames and the use of the softness of the left thumb. And we can actually maybe achieve more quickly what Rodney's asking for in his video by remembering that. In my own teaching, I think I mentioned that in the 7 actions of the left hand, I like to make sure my students observe several very, very strict rules. One is about the fingers falling in that fifth placement with a collapsible first knuckle that's free, and that the inside of the index finger at the base knuckle is not clenching the neck in any way, but is free to move while the thumb can remain static as a sort of anchor in the vibrato patterns. If you practice a scale in fifths and you try to force your hand to play those fifths in tune without finding the right angle of the elbow for each of the 3 planes, because obviously if we have 4 strings, there's only 3 spaces between those 4 strings. So just like I teach for a more stable bow arm, concentrating on those 3 planes to limit this range of motion and to make each plane stable so that you learn stability, because if you go against one plane, you lose one of the strings, right? the same thing with the fifths. They center your vibrato, and they give a much better general hand frame. But combining it with the right thinking, again, I would say, and I would add to what Rodney taught, and say, let's do all that, but let's make sure that there's absolutely no tension in the shoulder going up or forward, that we're never over rotated in the shoulder, that we're never underturned in the left hand, because that brings us into that angle of fifths, and it replaces the rotation of the shoulder to have a little more rotation of the forearm like that. Then each plane we can travel straight up in a line more, and it makes the instrument feel much, much smaller. And anything we can do to make these shifts feel smaller is very good. So that's an example of combining. If you listen to Nikolai Snyder perform, his right hand is a really, really good example of and not or, combining the seamless legatos that he studied with Boris Kushner with standard Galamin catch and release that he learned with my uncle, with me, and with other influences. We were both big Zuckerman fans growing up, and so that was a huge influence on studying, catch and release and on all of those things. And I find his bow arm to be immensely flexible because of that. So as we look ahead, a lot of times I'm going to refer you to other videos and teachers that I really admire for how they're teaching. Rodney Friend is certainly one of them. So is Augustine. He's been doing some fantastic videos that I think really would benefit anyone to watch. I'm also extremely fond of, and have been for a long time, of violinmasterclass.com. I've never seen a more organized set of videos by Kurt Sussmanshaus and his incredible students, and he's so organized in how to build them up that it really produces a lot of very fine fiddlers that go on to studying at Juilliard and Curtis and other schools. So I would definitely watch those. I find those to be fascinating. There's also a guy named Kirill Trusov, I think it is, Russian, that studied with Zakhar Braun, that gives some very, very good teaching, focusing on musical application of technical ideas rather than just sheer technique. I saw a wonderful video of him coaching Beethoven's Seventh Sonata to a young student, and I recommend that. So I think that there are many roads to Rome. I think that you want to think of and instead of or. And then I would refer you back to my previous video on discerning good from bad teaching. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video coming up shortly. If you enjoyed this, I hope you'll share it with friends and subscribe to my channel. I need to get my numbers up to 1,000 as soon as possible, and you can help. Thanks for watching.